We'll start off the chat today also with my email. Again, I'm Shelley Granager, Director of Alumni Relations here. I love to hear what else you guys want to hear about on campus, or if you want to have an event in your area, I'd love to help make that happen for you. All right, let's get to the main event. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Lorie Vega. Miss Vega is the Deputy for the 28th Mission Support Group at Ellsworth Air Force Base. In this role, she provides oversight to the 6 squadrons, which are responsible for security, communications, acquisitions, construction and infrastructure, fire operations, acquisitions, supply chain and logistics, hospitality and leisure and recreation, child and youth services, human resources, and much, much more. Additionally, she is the lead for innovation programs for the 28th Bomb Wing, as well as the Community Partnership Program point of contact. In the innovation realm, she has fostered, I apologize, I just lost my spot there. It doubled up on me. Sorry for my technical difficulties. I'm going to skip to this. Lorie has served in the Federal Employee Air Force for the 29 years. She's worked at 7 locations overseas and in the continental U.S., holding a variety of positions of increasing responsibility at the installation and major command levels. Lorie has been recognized as Professional of the Year at the Wing, Major Command, and 9th Air Force levels on numerous occasions and received 5 Air Force Civilian Meritorious Service Medals and the Air Force Exemplary Civilian Service Medal. The Association of Defense Communities recognized Ms. Vega as one of the first 10 Defense Community Champions, and she has most recently received an award for a Resilient Energy Project. Ms. Vega is very involved in the local community as a member of the Board of Directors for Destination Rapid City, Board of Directors for United Way in the Black Hills, Box Elder Chamber of Commerce Board, President of the Board of Directors for Big Brothers Big Sisters Black Hills Energy Citizen Committee, and a lifetime Kiwanis member and Hickson Fellow. That is quite a bio, Ms. Vega. You are, and I apologize for the mix-up in the middle of your bio there. She comes to us, she's very involved. We're very lucky to have you join us today and present to our community. I really want to thank you. And with that, I give you the floor.
Thank you. All right, so I'm good to hit share.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And we can see it.
Perfect. There we go. Okay, so I'm very excited to talk to you all today. One thing I do want to clarify, Shelley made me 10 years younger than I am. I've actually worked for the Air Force for 39 years. So been around a long time. One of the things that has been a true joy for me is standing up our innovation program, which we didn't do until 2020. And School of Mines has been foundational in that from the very beginning. And so what I'm going to talk to you today about is all the things we've been doing in the past and currently and into the future with mines. There's a lot more we do in innovation that I'm not covering today, but happy to talk about that if you have questions about that. So to kick it off with, student teams. So we work a lot with teams from School of Mines. Hacking for Defense is one of those avenues. We had to pause a little bit just because National Security Innovation Network kind of was changing their structure, realigning. So we had about 1.5 years where we didn't do Hacking for Defense. I'm happy to say we just kicked off a new session of Hacking for Defense with 2 student teams that we're working with. That just happened. Senior design projects, we've got a couple of those going right now, capstones, and of course, summer fellowships. So what you see in front of you is what we've done since 2020, just with School of Mines. So we've had 24 teams, 73 students, estimated research value to us, the world at large, 525,000. That's just a broad guess. I did try to roll in the current teams we have going right now. Just to paint the picture, through Ensign, we've done close to 50 student teams using other universities, but Mines is at least half of that. And I'd like to see that even grow. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our previous and ongoing teams. So upper left quadrant. So we did a student fellowship for unfunded requirements, and I'll explain a little bit so you understand what the project is. We have a very cumbersome method of tracking what our needs are that are not covered by a budget. And we call it unfunded requirements. John Barber, who you see in the picture with Governor Noem, started off with us doing a short-term hacking for defense project, came back as a fellow to do this project, worked with another university student, and now he has formed his own business, Council, won the Giant Vision Award, and right now we're working with him on continued beta testing and development, and his hope is to be able to get a small business innovation research grant, bring this to a commercialization level where we and other people across the whole Air Force could buy that product. So local school of mine student has his business right here in Rapid City, and we're continuing to work with him on that project. So very excited to see where that goes. Another one we did was a childcare finder app to help military find childcare in the local area. The students got a great start on that. The state was picking up trying to do something. So that one never finished through the student team, but was a great start. And once the state decided they were going to look at that, we kind of paused that one. Additive manufacturing fellowship, we have an additive manufacturing lab on our installation. And so we had mine students work for a summer through the Ensign program and worked with our engineers on base who, if any of you know Dr. Brian James, he is in charge of that section. So he was very excited to have mine students to work with. And these are some of the, we couldn't give you detailed pictures, but they helped redesign some of our parts that we use through 3D printing and additive manufacturing to make them more efficient and better. So that was a great initiative, and we're still using a lot of those designs today. We've had 2 different projects for foreign object damage detection and removal. And foreign object damage is any stuff that ends up on our airfield that can get sucked into a jet engine, obviously bad for a jet engine. And so the better we can detect that and get it out of there before it ends up in a jet, the better. And so the team worked with some magnets and some other methods of us monitoring, tracking, and picking up the debris. We also do a lot of de-icing out here. Our aircraft do get ice on them, and we have to use chemicals to do that. We want to make sure that those chemicals are contained and not getting into the environment. We have vehicles that do it, de-icing machines. They're ending their useful life. And so the team looked at, are there better ways to manage that? Are there better vehicles we could get? And so we've taken their recommendations and are changing out our vehicles to be what the students researched and recommended for us. We do a lot of snow removal out here. So one of the things that we've had trouble with is hitting objects under the snow drifts. And so one of the teams started a project on how to better detect obstructions that are buried in the snow. That actually got picked up by a company, not locally, but that actually refined that, and they're still working through that with us to get us a better system. One of the challenges is that you can't rely on a lot of the existing ways of doing this because the trucks have to move at a fairly high speed to push the snow. So it has to be pretty rapid. So we're trying to come up with a better way to do that because we have had some damage with things that have gotten buried. Upper left on this screen, one of our very first projects, and this was a hacking for defense, was to look at the concrete that was getting damaged on our runway. We knew that the concrete slabs were aging twice as fast as they should. We assumed it was driven by just heat, and it turned out that that wasn't quite the case. It was the combination of the particular chemicals that drip out of the aircraft. When they're hit by the heat from the engine, they form a type of acid. And so the students were able to identify the specific acid, which meant that we could apply a coating that was more resistant to that. So that helped decrease the degradation of the concrete. And then for a long-term project, they just gave us a basic design for how to help move the fluids away from where the jet engines are to reduce that interaction between the chemical and the jet engine. Top right is also a fellowship through Ensign. This was one of the projects John Barber worked on before he did unfunded requirements. This one is an energy resilience matrix. And so the idea here was, as we look at methods of getting away from fossil fuels and using green resilient energy, we have to consider a lot of factors, whether it be cost or, how efficient is it, et cetera. So the team basically developed a white paper and an Excel sheet that lets you manage and adjust like where your focus is. If you're worried about money, what's the most cost effective, et cetera. So we've used this to look at what are the ways to pursue resilient and green energy. And we've actually shared this matrix with some of the companies that we're partnering with to do resilient energy, to give them an idea of kind of what our weighted scores are in terms of what we're focused on for energy. So we're still using that product, although I think it's probably due for an upgrade at this point because a lot of things have changed. Bottom left, this is a team, we've had a couple of different teams work this. So we have line replaceable units, which are big boxes of electronics, basically, that we lift up into an aircraft. They're extremely heavy. Usually one member has to hold it above their head while another person reaches around them and screws it into place. Not very good for the body, not very efficient, can get dropped, etc. So the task was, we wanted to develop a lifting device that could lift that LRU into place, hold it steady, and allow somebody to screw it into place safely. And so after 2 teams, we have a working prototype. It is waiting for approval through what we call the SPO, the Special Projects Office, that works on B1 in particular. So, once we get this approved, this will really help protect our airmen, protect our aircraft. And one of the challenges, I know it sounds funny, but it's always the more, taller, well-muscled airmen that end up holding the boxes, which isn't fair. So we want to make sure that we're not putting excessive abuse on those folks. So this will be an amazing help for us. And those are just a couple of pictures of the students working with our airmen on developing that. We did another project through the Industrial Engineering Department on dorm furniture storage management. We have dorms on our base. We have standardized equipment that we store, and then as need arises, we rotate that out into the different dorm rooms when things become unusable. We had a very poor method of how to store it, and so they gave us a plan for better storage based on how often things were swapped out, things that were heavier. And so that's made the management of our furniture much more efficient. We're actually able to fit a lot more furniture into the space that we do have. Slippery hanger floors is an ongoing project. I'm going to talk a little bit more on a separate slide on this one because this one blends student teams, small business innovation research, local businesses all kind of together. So it's a super cool one, but I'll talk about it separately. Road condition notice system. We do a road condition system color coded, red, yellow, green, and black. And we had these old not working things that would flash a certain color. They were ineffective. They were in the wrong place. They broke down. And so the students looked at how to best notify our community when road condition changes, because that drives who can be on the road, how fast you can drive, if you're even coming to work. And so they gave us both a commercial device, they built a prototype if we wanted to build it ourselves, and gave us the methodology for deploying the information. And so we've used pieces of what they developed, and that's in place today. Moving on to Swing Arm Gate Fellowship. This was a summer project. And if you've ever been to our base, you know that we have these metal gates that kind of stick out in the road. And the purpose is to make a person drive a serpentine so they can't basically run through the gate. These are not well designed. They get stuck in the ice and snow. We've had airmen get hurt trying to push them. And so this team came up with 2 solutions. One is a different type of hinge for them to swing on, and a different wheel gave us some better options to update what we have, and then gave us a long-term solution of hydraulically powered gates. So we've got the upgrades in place that were what we could do now, and waiting on funding because the hydraulic solution is pretty spendy. So we're waiting on some budget for that. Traffic management study, basically with us, we've had a big change in our traffic flow because we're bedding down the B-21. And so we have a massive amount of construction vehicles that are coming on our base every single day. And that meant basically rerouting traffic away from one of the gates through the others. And so this team helped us look at where the pain points were, how to direct traffic better, where should we put stop signs, yield signs, crossing points. So this was incredibly helpful. We will probably ask for another team to relook it as we build all these new buildings. All of that is going to change traffic flow internally as well. So we're going to have to reevaluate. The team in the middle, that was a cable management system improvement fellowship to work with our communication squadron. We have a massive amount of cabling and it was pretty chaotic. So they developed a couple of bundling devices and gave us suggestions on how to route that a little bit better. We're using those, and actually we think we probably need another team to make those even better too. The list on the left, we had for our maintenance group, they have massive training requirements for maintaining aircraft. And they were pulling data from 3 or 4 different systems, and it would take 2 people 3 days just to merge all the data together to present it to leadership, which was inefficient, wasting their time. And then by the time they kludged it all together, it was already outdated. So this gave us spreadsheets that were able to pull this information and generate what they needed for slides, et cetera, and cut down like almost a full week of work into like a day. Snow removal efficiencies. We, again, move a lot of snow. So this team looked at the best routes for plowing, where to put our collection piles to least impact base operations once we reopen. So those efficiencies were put in place. We have a couple of current projects going on. One that we're doing with Brian Butterfield's students is a flying hour program optimization project. So his team is looking at working with us on how to track, monitor flying hours. Basically, how many hours do we fly? What does it do for training of our pilots? What are the reasons aircraft are down? It's similar to the maintenance problem I described. We have one person who spends hours trying to gather all this data, develop slides based on it. Takes a lot of work. And so we're trying to automate that so that it's more efficient, timely, and then other people can access it and get the information they need, because she spends a lot of time answering a lot of questions that she has to dig into multiple spreadsheets to find. The next one we just kicked off, our communication squadron. They have a line of effort strategic plan that they've just started writing. And we have a team from Rich Burgess from the Industrial Engineering Department working on a platform or a dashboard or whatever it looks like. We literally had the kickoff meeting yesterday to help us make this work better so that we don't do what traditionally happens with our strategic plans. We build them and we put them on a shelf. This is meant to track progress, make sure that the objectives and goals are relevant and see outcomes, and then build that out to beyond 1 or 2 years to 5 to 10 years. And then our Hacking for Defense Spring 25 class just kicked off as well. And they're building on a project that had been done by San Diego State, which was a portable paint booth for nacelles on an aircraft. And so one of the things that happened with that is the jet changes the way it sits on the ground, depending on how much fuel is in it, et cetera. So they need something that is reconfigurable, flexible to the jet being higher or lower. So this team is going to look at how do we either create something brand new or modify the one that we're using now to make it adapt to the configurations on the aircraft. Okay, this is the cool project I mentioned earlier. This is the slippery hangar floors. So this project started out, our safety office said, hey, the aircraft drip a lot in the hangars. It's creating oil and hydraulic fluid on the ground. We can't clean it up fast enough to keep airmen from slipping. Toolboxes are sliding across the floor, even with the wheels being locked. Can we keep the drips off the floor was the initial problem. The student team looked at it and said, nope, we can't keep the drips off the floor because there's no real way to manage that doesn't create another problem, either with damage to the aircraft or a different safety hazard. So they said, well, we think we can make the boots have better traction. So we started going down that road, and then we talked about, well, can we do something with the coating on the floor? So that resulted in a 2-pronged approach. The boot covers, which we have a local business, a small business, Coltac, who has been giving us some prototypes. And we think they've been getting dissolved by the chemicals on the floor. So we think there's a project there to kind of analyze what can we put on these boots to not get eaten by the chemicals. And then the other arm of this is modifying the floor coating. So we had a phase 1 project with Novum Nano as a small business technical transfer research project with School of Mines. And they did a phase 1. That just actually finished up, and they just got selected for funding for a phase 2 to actually develop the prototype of not only the floor coating, but also an automated robot to go out there and suck up the globs, because this will be an oleophobic coating, which will keep the oils and greases from sinking into the coating, which deteriorates the hanger, keeps it from getting as slippery, makes it much easier to clean. So this one to me is like the true evolution of a solution, from the very grassroots students looking at the problem set to getting small business involved, getting academia involved. And I can't wait to see this one finish up, because this is pretty exciting. And what's cool about the phase 2 is we've involved another Air Force base that has B-52s. They have the same exact problem we have. So if we solve the floor coating and the boot cover thing, there is commercialization potential there for across the entire Air Force, and probably commercial aviation. From what I've been told, all aircraft drip. So it's not unique to us. So I mentioned the small business technical transfer research contracts that we've done. Here's the ones that we have done in the past, and then our oleophobic hanger floor coating is active. These are with local businesses, Novum Nano and VRC through AFWorks. I don't have cool pictures because it's basically looking at gunk on the floor, but and then the grease and all of that, it's not, I don't have good pictures. So I apologize for that, but it's brought $6.6 million worth of R&D funding into the local area. And then we supported Novum Nano's submission for oil and grease with Army, the Army equivalent of AFWorks. And I heard they just got picked up for funding there. So they're moving forward with that. So we're happy to partner in that capacity as well, even if it's not being tested at our base. Moving it forward for the Department of Defense is really the goal. And some other partnerships. We actually did, thanks to Beth and Ann, a collaborative brainstorming session several months back. And what we were trying to do is compensate for the fact that Ensign is no longer a presence in School of Mines. That position has now been converted to regional. And so we got everybody together to kind of brainstorm what projects we might need help with, or things that are going on. And so I just did a spreadsheet just yesterday and sent it out with some new things that have come up. I'm an EIR member. I was honored to mentor a student, Zach Holloway, some of you may know him, for his giant vision presentation. And I heard he took 3rd place. So I mean, he's amazing. So I'm not sure how much I helped, but it was an honor to be involved. We've had ongoing efforts for years dealing with PFAS, PFOA through AFCEC, School of Mines, and our local civil engineers. We've been working on some drone and robotic solutions with some of the staff. You can see the lab tour to the right. So Jacob and his professor, we've been talking through some things, and I think we're going to see a phase 2 submission from them. And then Mines has always been a big partner in general with Ellsworth, the Black Hills Military Affairs Committee. They were involved in the last air show we had, and that just continues. It seems like everything we do, Mines is right there as a partner with us, whether it be innovation or quality of life, you name it, they're there. So going forward, we definitely want to keep building on the student teams. I'd love to expand the projects, involve more of the departments, keep the small business technical transfer research submissions going, keep building that problem bank for professors looking for projects. We've had some talks about some grant opportunities. We had a conversation yesterday about biofuel or conversion of paper into fuel. So that one is just in its infancy. And then we also had some discussion about STEM outreach for the base, the local students, and possibly some grants there. And so pretty much the sky is the limit to whatever we can come up with next. So that concludes my presentation. So what questions do you have for me? It's a lot in a short space of time, so I apologize for that.
That was a lot. And so I'm going to remind everyone, if you do have a question, there's that Q&A section down there. Go ahead and type in your questions right there, and I'll read them off to Lorie. That is how it works best in our presentation. And Lorie, thank you. It is amazing to see the opportunities that you are giving our students to participate in some real life problem solving. I mean, what a great bonus to their education, and the fact that it then leads to materialized help for our military, and then also innovation growth inside of our Rapid City District. I know John Barber, I saw him last week. He just graduated from the Wildfire Labs, a local group that helps people come with a software idea, go all the way through to being able to make money with it. So it kind of spins those companies up. He just graduated from that, and he seems very excited with work he's doing with you. I also know Zach Holloway. He just has a lot of gumption to him. And I know that this year his team is planning to go back to Governor's Giant Vision and sweep, they hope, the student division and the open division. So and if you want to hear more about some of the innovation that we're doing, or stay up to date with some of the innovation we're doing, please subscribe to the school's South Dakota Mines Innovation newsletter. There is a link right there that I just posted in the chat that you can go in and fill out, and you'll get that newsletter sent to your email when it comes out. And then when you want to hear more about or participate more, you saw in one of Lorie's last slides, you saw Astro the dog. That was purchased for the mechanical engineering department, and that was through people like you, our alumni in our community, who wanted to participate and help immediately affect student departments with their needs. And so the mechanical engineering department said, hey, we could do a lot of training, research, and outreach with Astro. And so they did a crowdfunding through our Raising for Rockers. That Raising for Rockers Day is actually February 14th, or sorry, February 13th it launches. This is our link to the Raising for Rockers. Go out there, check out your department, and see what their project is this year if you want to get involved with that. All right, Lorie, I was doing that to give people some time to write questions in, and they have.
I figured.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anything yet, though.
There, we have three. I see three out there. So
awesome.
From Corey, he's an on-campus student engagement director. Have you followed any of the students to see where they end up in their career that you've helped mentor, help work with?
The only ones I have is obviously John Barber, because I'm still working with him. And then there was another student that was on one of our fellowships who actually went on to work for a government lab. So kind of excited, in Iowa. So he's actually in Iowa. So we stay in touch periodically. So, and then Zach, he just reached out to talk about potentials for his business that he's starting for future small business innovation research. So some of them, yes. Most of them, honestly, no. Because there's a lot of them. I mean, you saw there's like 77 just from, or whatever it is, 74 from mines. And then we have all the other projects with the other schools too. So it's hard to keep track of all of them. I do know a couple, they weren't mine students, actually joined the military after they did their project, which is kind of cool.
Excellent. We have on our Zoom today, Dr. Rankin, our former president of the university, hopefully enjoying his retirement. He says, Lorie, having Jason and Ensign on campus really helped build our relationships with the Ellsworth Air Force Base. How do you see Ensign going regional impacting the students' projects?
So unfortunately, it's taken Jason's time away from doing a lot of the direct work. However, thanks to Beth and Ann, we've developed kind of a substitute. We've created our own system. So since then, we've gotten those projects I mentioned earlier, the one with Brian and Rich, and then the Hacking for Defense got moving again. And then we have an upcoming meeting with Jason to figure out how to re-energize some of this with his busy schedule. The problem with regional is he's gone out of town a lot. And so we're kind of sharing him, although he did tell me unofficially, Ensign had shifted to a lot of focus on small business versus academia. And it sounds like maybe it's going to come back the other way. And so if that actually happens, I think that will make things easier. But the good news is we figured out a way to work through it. And I think that's only going to get better. My experience has been is when we work with professors and students, everybody wants to do more, the professors do, and then our folks on the base get very excited about working with the students because they're a lot of fun and they're absolutely brilliant. And so they always blow us away with how quickly they learn our weird language and the amazing things they come up with.
Yeah. I have a question here from Raj. He's asking, how do you manage the continuity or the continuity, sorry, on projects with students that leave after graduation?
So I actually have a tracker that I monitor kind of where they're all at. So my goal is always to continue that work as far as we can. So if I can convert it into a small business innovation research project or just give it to a small business, that's what we do. That's why on a lot of the projects I kind of talked about, this one we didn't take any further, and here's why, here's where this one is. So I just have an ongoing tracker so that I know, because we don't want to waste the students' time, my time, the government's money, whatever, on developing something we don't do anything with it. So that's always the goal. And again, you're seeing just the Minds piece. There's other ones too that have commercialized out. Students have filed patents and et cetera. If not Minds yet, I'm hopeful someday Minds will do a patent with us, but we had another school that did a patent. So that's, I track those till, I guess they're done, so to speak. Either they're not tenable or they've been overcome by something else, or they're actually like commercialized.
I have Carla Callahan. She's asked two questions. The first one is, who are the points of contact at South Dakota Mines that help get projects going with Ellsworth? And I can answer it if you don't.
Well, it's Ann and Beth is the two people, because what I do is I will funnel new projects. Like I said, I just did a spreadsheet with a bunch of new ideas that, because I'm always beating the bushes for student projects, always. Or even things that I can maybe get a small business to do a SIBR or sitter for. So that's who I work through directly. And then once we've done a project with a professor, I include them on the things that I'm sending out with, here's our project list. So they become part of that dialogue because they already have worked with us. They know how it works. Because we have some unique things. Obviously, we want the students to come out on the base. The team that's doing the flying hour program, they got to do a flight sim for B1. They got to actually go up in a B1, not fly in it, but go up in it. And so that's kind of a unique experience. And so we want to make sure that everybody is getting to be part of that. So we work that closely. However, they need to be screened before they can come on the base. So there's some additional hurdles for working with us. And so it helps when the professor already knows, yeah, they got to sign an NDA. We have to do a background check. We do the background screening, but so we keep that continuity going that way because it's a lot easier. And, we can be a little scary because, it's a base and everybody's like, oh, you have to go through this special stuff to get out here. And so we have to break down that fear of coming on a military base. It's really not scary.
Right. And, if I see a lot of people on this Zoom that have businesses or companies, and if you are interested in getting your company in front of one of our senior projects, please reach out to me and I will forward you on to those appropriate contacts outside of the Air Force Base projects.
And I'll throw out there, if you're a small business and you want to pursue a SIBR or sitter, which is how we say Small Business Innovation Research, or STTR. So very interested in working with businesses. I've got 20 active ones right now. We've got about 20 completed in this round that's coming up. We're probably going to have about 15 partnerships going forward. So we're always looking for partners.
Perfect. Another question Carla had was that the commercialization hump is a challenge. Roughly,
Yes.
how do you envision that effort would be led or unfolded? So do you take on that commercialization hump, or do you give it to the students or the faculty?
So it kind of depends on the situation. So obviously at a local installation, we don't have research and development dollars. Our funding is a little different. So that kind of funding goes to a lab or to the Air Force level. So there's something called a TACFI, Tactical Financial Increase, or a STRATFI, Strategic Financial Increase. And so those are meant to bridge the gap from a phase 2 into full commercialization. So a company or a student team that becomes a company can apply for that to move their project forward. We've done a couple of those. We have a couple coming forward. The difference between a phase 2 or phase 1 and the TACFI STRATFI is there's matching dollars required. So if you win a contract for a phase 2 or phase 1, Air Force pays the entire research funding for that. If you're going to do the commercialization route, you have to do matching dollars for it, which can be a little challenging depending on where the business is at. The other thing I do with companies, again, I'm talking companies here with commercialization. I have a lot of connections with our Major Command Global Strike. They have a commercialization office, so I can connect the businesses with them because they have access to different resources that I don't have. I also connect with other installations who may be able to help build on the use case for commercialization, or may have access to dollars because they're in a different major command, or they have a different flow, or maybe they're affiliated with a lab. So I try to connect those really viable things through these other avenues to try to get them other sources of funding.
Corey asks, are you working with someone who will eventually pick up this work that you're doing when you decide to ride off into the sunset?
You know, that's a challenge. It is a challenge because, and it's one of my biggest fears. I get people that are my key volunteers, but they're military, and so they rotate out. So they're here 2 to 4 years, and so I get somebody somewhat spun up on this stuff, and then they leave. So my hope is that we're going through a lot of restructure right now. I'm sure you see the news. There's a lot of things happening with structure, and then the Air Force in general is going to reorganize into a combat wing and an air base wing format. So that will put more things together that aren't together now, for lack of a better way of explaining it. I think that might give me better opportunity to build that for a successor. Ideally, honestly, somebody that takes my job after me would be the perfect one, because the advantage is you have continuity for a civilian. And honestly, because of where my position sits in terms of authority, I can push a lot of things through a lot easier than somebody that isn't necessarily in that higher level chain of command and doesn't sit in all the meetings I sit in. So there's a big advantage to it being like that. I've been lobbying, as everybody else, to give us a specific innovation position that to this day does not exist. What we do is, I just decided to create an innovation program because we didn't have one. And we didn't have anybody to take out of Hyde. So I was like, we need this. So I did it. Again, the advantage of position comes into play there. Most bases have a junior NCO or an airman that's running the innovation program. And it's a big challenge because it takes them about a year to learn how to do these things. And once they learn how to do them, they're getting ready to rotate out and we start over. And it's frustrating for companies. It's frustrating for universities. So my heartfelt belief is we need a civilian billet that runs the day-to-day innovation, because I don't have time to do grassroots innovation with airmen. I just don't, because I have a full-time job too. So I focus on these things, but we need the other piece too. So I don't have a good answer for that. I'm not taking the offer from the government to resign by 6 February, so I'm not going anywhere just yet.
Great, that's good to hear. Raj has kind of a follow-up question to that. He asks, is this kind of university cooperation happening all over the country?
I wish it was. It varies. It really varies a lot on whoever's doing the innovation at that local site, and then the university's willingness to partner. So it takes a lot of effort. And again, this rotation thing that I talked about becomes a setback, because all the connections you've made potentially get lost when a new person comes in. So it's a bit of a struggle. There are some places doing fantastic, just like we are, and some places not so much. And I've seen some bases where they were doing great stuff, having CRADA. We have one CRADA, by the way, not a university one, but with a business. And then all of a sudden the person rotated out and nothing. So we're not there yet.
Bob Case asks, are South Dakota Mines colleges departments adequately aware of the Air Force Base project opportunities? And if not, how could that communication channel be elevated? Do you want to take that? Do you want me to take that, Lorie?
I'm not sure that's mine, because just like you guys don't know how our system works, I'm not as familiar as how your system works. So working with Ann and Beth has been amazing. And then Maribeth is making a platform for us to enter all of our problem sets, and then all the professors will be able to get into it. So once that's stood up, I think that will help. And that's about all I can contribute to that. So Shelley, you can take the rest of that.
Perfect. All right, I'll take it over. So with our new position for Ann Brittlinger, she is really the liaison between our community, our businesses, and our legislators. And so we all now know that if we get any kind of request, or people are starting to get to know her, if they have a request, they know to go through her. And then she knows campus intimately and knows exactly how to reach out to people, who to reach out to. if it's doable, kind of those next steps. Beth Lambeth is also a great resource. She's been with the campus for almost a year now. She currently works in the research affairs, but she also does our innovation cycle, which has been, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that video. It's on our YouTube channel to hear about the innovation cycle here on campus. And she's the Associate Vice President for Research and Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and including hosting our entrepreneurs in residence. So she hosts that program here on campus. So if any of you are interested, any of you are entrepreneurs and you want to help our next generation become entrepreneurs, I know she would love to hear from you. I have a question in the chat I'm going to ask, and I don't know if you know this, and I definitely don't know this. Approximately how many South Dakota Mine students are working on projects at Ellsworth over the recent years? Do you know what your total number kind of would be?
Yeah, 73. It was on the first slide.
Oh, there we go. Hey, I wasn't paying enough attention. I apologize about that. That was
Yeah, and I just updated it to count the ones from the industrial engineering department. I estimated a number. I'm not sure it's the final number because they get to pick their projects, but we know we're at least going to have 4 students. So
excellent.
that number's probably going to go up.
It's been a great partnership. We're really looking forward to it, and to the opportunities, and just the fact that our students get this real world education that they're not able to even get, say, at MIT at undergraduate level, that they're getting here. So I thank you for being part of that and partnering so well with our school and our community. And I have in the chats here, I've got several people saying thank you. They love the presentation. They love the experience you're giving our students and the project you're working with them. So again, I just thank you, Lorie, for your time. Thank you out there. I will send a follow-up email to everyone who registered that attended and didn't attend. Please share this video with others, because we just want to brag about everything that Ellsworth Air Force Base is doing in collaboration with us, and how we're helping each other out to solve problems. So with that, I want to thank everybody for your time today. And again, Lorie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Everyone have a great day.
And anybody that wants to contact me directly, please feel free to do that. Happy to chat about any of this or new ideas.
Perfect. Lorie, I will include that in that wrap-up email out to everyone.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, and you all have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine.